Long-haul truckers who run Nevada's night routes have a rule they never explain to rookies. Don't stop for the man in the road. Most new drivers laugh it off. Cal Morrison did too. Until early October at 2:13 a.m., when his headlights caught a figure standing perfectly still in the center of the highway, and when he passed it, it was already farther down the road than it should have been. What follows is Cal's account, submitted 4 months after his last run on that highway. He said he needed someone to know, because it didn't stay on that highway. There is no official record of anything standing in the road on Nevada Route 93 during the period he drove it. But 3 other drivers from 3 separate companies gave the same description without ever meeting each other. This is Cal's account, narrated as he told it. My name is Cal Morrison, and I need to tell you about something I saw on a desert highway in Nevada that I have never fully explained to myself. Not completely, not in a way that sits right. I'm going to start at the beginning, because I think the beginning matters. In my first month as a long-haul truck driver, sometime in early October, I started hearing the same piece of advice about one specific stretch of highway in Nevada. 3 different people gave it to me, separately, without knowing the others had said it. If you see someone standing in the road after 2 a.m., you don't stop. I thought it was a joke. I thought it was one of those things experienced drivers say to rookies to watch them squirm. You know how that goes. Every job has its hazing folklore. I was wrong. I was 26 when I got my CDL. Before that, I'd spent 2 years loading trucks at a warehouse in Arizona. A friend told me night freight routes paid almost double what I was making, so I signed up, trained, and within 3 weeks, I was assigned a night run in Nevada. 2 freight depots, one in Tonopah, one near Caliente. Between them was about 90 miles of open desert highway, no towns, no signal. Just a single truck stop halfway through and whatever your headlights could reach. The company called it a beginner route, which should have told me how seriously anyone took it. Before my first run, I stopped at that truck stop to fuel up. Small place, 4 tables. A woman behind the counter who looked like she hadn't slept since the 90s. I sat down with a coffee, and an older driver, gray beard, hands like leather, took the seat across from me. He glanced at the logbook on the table. Then he looked back up at me for a moment, like he was deciding whether to say something. "Tonopah run?" he asked. I said yes. He nodded, didn't say anything for a moment. Then very casually, like he was telling me about road construction, he said, "You'll hit that long empty stretch about mile marker 140. If you see someone standing in the middle of the road after 2 a.m., you don't slow down. You don't honk. You just drive around him and keep going." I asked him why. He picked up his coffee, looked out the window, and said, "Because if you stop, it gets closer." 2 other guys at the counter laughed. The older driver didn't. I laughed too. I drove the route. I hit the empty stretch around 1:45 that first night. Nothing there. I told myself, see? Folklore. I drove it 6 more times over the next 2 weeks. Still nothing. I stopped thinking about it, and then came the 8th run. I reached mile marker 140 at 2:13 a.m. The road is flat out there. You can see your headlights reach maybe a 1/4 mile ahead in the dark, and beyond that there's just nothing. Desert on both sides. No fencing, no lights. That's when I saw the figure. It was far ahead. Center of the lane, just standing there. My first thought was stranded motorist. Someone whose car had broken down. Maybe they walked the road looking for signal, but there was no car. No flashlight, no movement. I kept driving toward it, waiting for it to step to the shoulder, to wave, to do literally anything that a person in that situation would do. It didn't move. The closer I got, the more wrong it felt. Not wrong in an obvious way, wrong in a quiet way. Like when you walk into a room and something is slightly off, but you can't immediately name what. The figure just stood there, dead center, both headlights full on it. My chest went tight. That specific tightness that happens before your brain has even caught up to what your body already knows. I remembered what the old driver had said. Don't slow down, drive around it. So that's what I did. I eased over slightly into the other lane. I gave it a wide berth, and as I passed, I turned my head to look at it directly. It was tall, taller than any person I'd seen on a road before, and thin in a way that looked wrong, not sick thin, just proportionally off. Like the dimensions were slightly miscalculated. Long arms, long legs, standing completely still with no acknowledgement that a 20-ton truck had just passed within 15 feet. I looked back at the road. Then I checked my driver's side mirror, and something in my stomach went cold. The figure was already farther down the road than it should have been. I'd been doing maybe 45 miles per hour when I passed it. 5 seconds had elapsed, at most. But it was already, I don't know how to describe it, it was already much smaller in the mirror than the distance made sense for, like it had moved, fast. I told myself it was the mirrors. Desert distance. Depth perception in the dark is unreliable, everybody knows that. I'd been driving for 7 hours, I was tired. I drove the rest of the route without stopping. I didn't mention it to anyone. But here's what I keep coming back to even now. When I glanced sideways as I passed the figure, I noticed something I didn't process until later, much later. The road behind it was completely clean. No tire tracks, no scuff marks in the dust on the shoulder. Whatever had been standing in that road had not walked to that spot. The following week, same route. Over the next couple of weeks, I kept running that route. Late October by then. That's when I realized it wasn't a one-time thing. I hit mile marker 140 at 2:09 in the morning. It was there again. Same spot, same posture, same absolute stillness. My hands went cold on the wheel. That instant, involuntary cold that starts at the fingertips and moves up. I did what I'd done the week before, moved over, drove around it, did not slow down, did not look at it for long. This time I didn't check the mirror. The week after that, I told myself I'd pay attention to the mile markers leading up to it, because I'd convinced myself that maybe it was some kind of, I don't know, scarecrow, property marker, something the landowners had put out there that just looked human from the road. I passed mile 138, nothing. Mile 139, nothing. Mile 140, there, standing there. Same figure, same stillness, same impossible height. But this time, it was facing the opposite direction. The first 2 times, it had been facing my lane, facing me as I approached. This time, its back was to me. I don't know why that was worse, but it was. I drove around it, kept my eyes forward, didn't touch the brakes. And about 40 minutes later, at the halfway truck stop, I got on the CB to check in with dispatch. And before I could say anything, another voice came through. Trucker, heading the opposite direction on the same route. You see him tonight? I didn't answer immediately. The voice said, the man on the road, around marker 140. I said yes. A pause. Then, yeah, he moves around on us sometimes, faces different ways, but it's always the same spot. I asked how long this had been going on. The driver didn't answer that question. He said, there's a rule, only one, don't stop, because if you stop, it walks to your door. He clicked off. I sat in my truck for 10 minutes before I could make myself drive the rest of the route. And here's the thing I keep coming back to. That driver, I got his handle from dispatch the next morning. I wanted to ask him more. Dispatch told me he'd been running that route for 6 years. When I asked what he did when he saw the figure, they said he'd put in a request last month to switch routes. He hadn't told them why, just requested the change. They said he'd seemed fine, normal, the same as always, except he'd started leaving the truck stop before 1:30 every time, like he was trying to hit mile 140 before 2. I never found out if that worked. Over the next few runs, things changed. The first time I saw it, it was maybe a third of a mile ahead of me when my headlights caught it. The second time, closer, maybe a quarter mile. By the fourth time, it was close enough that I could see the outline clearly before I'd even fully registered it was there, like it was appearing later in my approach, giving me less time to prepare. And the mirror thing kept happening. Every time I passed it and gave myself a few seconds before checking, it was already too far back, too small, wrong scale for the distance. But one night, this was maybe 6 weeks in, I checked immediately. Like instantly, the moment I cleared it, my eyes went to the mirror. And for just a second, before it should have been receding, it was the exact right size. Right distance, right where it should have been. Then it was gone from the mirror entirely. Not farther back, not smaller, gone. I looked forward. I looked sideways. Nothing on the road. Then I checked the passenger side mirror. It was on the shoulder, not in the road anymore, just off the edge of the pavement, standing in the gravel, facing my truck as it moved away. I floored the accelerator without thinking. I didn't stop until the truck stopped, 20 miles down the road. That night I sat in the diner with both hands wrapped around a cup of coffee that went cold before I took a sip. And I noticed something I hadn't before. The woman behind the counter, the one who was always there, every run, every time, she didn't ask me what was wrong. She just refilled my cup, didn't look at me, set down the pot, and said very quietly, almost to herself, "You hit the brakes, didn't you?" Not a question, a statement. I looked at her. She turned around and went back to the kitchen. I don't know what that means. I've thought about it a lot. She'd seen drivers come in looking like I looked, and she already knew what they'd done wrong. She just made coffee, and for some reason that scared me almost as much as what I'd seen in the mirror. 3 weeks later, late October, a storm moved in over the desert, unusual for that time of year, but it happened. Wind, rain, visibility down to maybe 100 feet in front of me. I almost called in and said I'd pull over and wait it out, but I was running behind schedule. Dispatch was on me. I made the call to keep going. I hit mile marker 138, then 139. I told myself, it won't be there tonight. Storm like this, whatever it is, it won't. It was there, and it was close. Not a third of a mile, not a quarter. It was maybe 200 feet ahead when my headlights caught it, and the rain meant I had no time to react cleanly. I tried to steer around it, but the shoulder was soft, muddy, and the rig started to pull. I had no choice. I hit the brakes. The truck stopped, fully stopped, headlights full on the figure, maybe 40 feet away. For the first time, I could actually see it clearly. It was tall. I said that before, but I want you to understand what I mean. Not tall like a tall person, tall like something that has the general shape of a person, but the proportions have been stretched. The arms were too long, the legs were too long, the torso too narrow, and its face. I've told this part to 2 people in my life, and both of them went quiet afterward. Its face was blank, not dark, not shadowed, blank. Like the front of its head was smooth, like someone had taken a person and simply removed the face, left nothing there, just flat, pale, featureless. And then it took one step toward the truck, just one, slow and deliberate, like it was in no hurry. I hit the accelerator hard. The rig fishtailed in the mud, and I nearly went off the shoulder, but I got traction and I went. I didn't brake again for 15 miles. When I finally made myself look in the mirror, the road was empty. Just rain and dark and the white lines disappearing behind me. It wasn't in the road, but the storm had knocked out my passenger side mirror, cracked the housing, angled it down toward the ground. And I didn't fix it right away. Looking back, I think some part of me didn't want to know what it would show me. I pulled into the truck stop at 4:20 a.m. I sat in the cab for a long time before I went inside. When I did, there was a driver I'd seen a few times before. Big guy, quiet, always sat in the corner. He looked up at me when I came in. Didn't say hello. Just looked at me the way you look at someone when you already know what happened to them. I sat down across from him. I told him what I'd seen, all of it. The face, the step toward the truck, the mirror. He listened without interrupting, without any expression. When I finished, he asked one question. Did it move when you stopped? I said yes. He exhaled slowly. Not dramatically, just slowly, like he'd been hoping I'd say something different. Then it knows your truck now. He went back to his coffee. I quit that route the next morning. I took a different contract, different state, different roads, different nights, different everything. I told myself distance would be enough. For about 3 months it was. And then, early January, I was on a completely different route in Utah, somewhere I'd never even driven near Nevada, running a night shift. Around 2 a.m., I glanced up at my mirror, far behind my trailer, down the center of the road, barely visible at the edge of my brake lights. A figure, standing there, standing still. And here's the thing that I've come back to every night since. Every time I'd seen it before, it had been in the road, waiting, blocking. This time it wasn't in the road. This time it was on the shoulder, and it was facing me. Cal Morrison left long-haul trucking 4 months after this account. He has not driven a night route since. There are no official incident reports filed for mile marker 140 on Nevada Route 93. No investigations, no records. Because what truckers call the man in the road doesn't leave evidence. It doesn't chase. It doesn't damage anything. It doesn't appear on any camera that's ever been submitted to anyone. It stands. It waits. It registers you. And once it does, once the truck stops, once the distance closes, once it takes that step, the road it came from no longer matters, because it isn't tied to the road. It's tied to you. We'll be back next week, same day, at 3 a.m. And if you're driving a night route, long stretch, no towns, that flat, empty dark that goes on further than it should, and your headlights catch something standing very still in the center of the lane, don't brake, don't check the mirror, and whatever you do, don't stop, because the road it's standing in doesn't matter. You do.